Hi, it's Dr. Casoni. Today we're going to talk about testing your thyroid at home. This home thyroid test, called the Barnes thyroid test, was named after Broda Barnes. And this doctor was an endocrinologist and came up with this simple test. It's not used nowadays in conventional care because everything in conventional care has to be recorded on paper, has to be verifiable 100%. And we know that labs are not actually accurate. They're just a small window from which to look at the physiology. But this test would be considered subclinical, meaning that it's not used to base a drug prescription on because drugs have side effects. So it's all a liability game. But for those of us in holistic care, it offers a very useful biomarker that tells us what's going on with the thyroid. Doesn't mean that it's always going to be a thyroid case. If you're one of my patients, you probably have learned that the thyroid is really bullied by other parts of the body, like the liver, adrenal gland issues, blood sugar instability issues. If those issues are there, then we want to work on those first. And the majority of the time, we see a thyroid case clean up on its own. We see labs change and everything just by working on the liver. The liver is where 80% of T3, T4 conversion occurs. And so taking care of that liver, which also helps with blood sugar stability, also helps that thyroid. Remember, less is more. We don't want to get clever and start to order exhaustive thyroid panels because now we're falling down the indoctrinated hole of labs, right? T3, T4, reverse T3, TSH, and TPO. All of those are just verified numbers to show that you actually need the drug. But instead, we want to treat holistically, and we're looking for that root cause. It's still nice to know if there's something else going on. For example, that autoimmune picture with the TPO, that's the thyroid peroxidase test. So it's useful, but really we still, especially with thyroid, we want to look at that big picture. And this Barnes test offers something that you can do at home. So it's also very empowering for somebody to be able to spot check their thyroid function. And if we have a positive for this test, you know, something's going on with your thyroid, and that combined with signs, symptoms, and other physical examinations is going to paint the picture that we're going to work on clinically together. Here's how you do the test. You're basically going to get a digital thermometer and you're going to check your armpit. This is an axillary or armpit temperature test to be done first thing in the morning. This means you have the thermometer by your bed. So the moment you wake up, the moment you open your eyes, you grab that thermometer, put it into your armpit, and take your temperature. You can't even get up to go to the restroom because any major movement is going to change your metabolic rate and will alter the test. We're looking for that early morning auxiliary or armpit temperature test. You're going to record this every day for 10 days and then take the average. The way you do that is that you take all 10 recordings and you add them up together. And then you divide that total number by 10 because we took 10, and that's the average. If the average is below 97.8, that points to a hypothyroid. If the number is above 98.2, that may indicate a hyperthyroid. In reality, we don't really clinically see a hyper and hypothyroid. What we actually see is something that shows a little bit of both of the symptoms. It's not just a clear picture of hypothyroid or hyperthyroid. It's more like a thyroid in a state of decline and dysfunction, and it will start showing symptoms on both sides until it arrives at one more obvious than the other. One thing to note about taking this temperature test for menstruating females is that the temperature changes naturally about 2 days before you start your cycle. Your temperature is going to be elevated, your body temperature. And then when you ovulate, it's going to be a little bit lower than normal. So the best window to take this test is about 2 or 3 days after you've started your menstrual cycle, after you've started your menstrual bleed. That's when you would start taking this test for the next 10 days. Non-menstruating patients can take this test at any time. By itself, this test is subclinical, meaning it's a functional test. It's a soft indicator combined with signs and symptoms. Remember, these can be all over the place, but in general, that hypothyroid's going to have some fatigue, maybe some metabolic changes like they're gaining weight. They might have hair loss. They might have cold extremities. They might feel cold all the time. They might get constipation, even joint pain, and dysmenorrhea, or irregular menstruation or painful menstruation, can show up with a thyroid issue like this. For the hyperthyroid in general, but not always, it's going to be a little bit more anxiety. Could be heart palpitations, could be a sense of panic or anxiety attack, could be a higher metabolism, like they're losing weight without any other obvious reason. And that could lead to some other complications. If that thyroid goes high enough, it could be a hospitalization event. Some of you have heard of a thyroid storm. This is a medical emergency. It's not something that happens too often, but it's also a good reason why we're not just messing with the thyroid directly. A lot of people are taking iodine in these extremely high loading amounts, 50 milligrams up to 100 milligrams a day, when the daily recommended value, according to our government, which is completely incorrect, is in the microgram range. So this is a very high amount to try to jumpstart or reprogram the thyroid. I really avoid any of these extremes. A little bit of iodine can be a game changer for the thyroid, but let's start with a complete picture and look at those root cause areas. Remember, liver, adrenals, and blood sugar, those issues are very common. And the vast majority of the time, working with those areas, the thyroid balances out on its own. So have fun with this home test. My goal, as always, is to empower you. I think the best way to decentralize medicine, get it out of the grip of unelected officials who are controlling research, controlling doctors, controlling speech, the best way is to inform and educate people how to take care of themselves. And that's really what my goal is. And that's why I'm making videos.